Hello, my name is Dr. Alistair Hewitt, and if you're seeing this, then you will have level 3 clearance or higher. If you do not, then you will be eligible for immediate termination. Today, we will be looking at SCP-231. 7 seals, 7 rings, 7 brides for the Scarlet King. Object Class Keter. The faithful watch the forest for the coming of the king. Their lanterns bright, they wait at night, for the new world he shall bring. Site and personal requirements. Under Order of 05, redacted, the following addendum has been attached to the beginning of the file of SCP-132-7. The dragon waits in the shadows, his breath will scorch the land. The hero in the castle draws his sword to make his stand. All personnel assigned to SCP-231-7 must rotate out for 1 month of psychological counseling, after 2 months on site. SCP-237-1 is to be kept in an undisclosed location. All personnel assigned to SCP-231 will be transported there by blindfold from Site-19, by route including no fewer than 7 different forms of transportation, including, but not limited to, aircraft, automobile, underground tunnel, and redacted. Removal of the blindfold during the transport process is grounds for immediate. The princess in the tower is hidden far away, but nothing under heaven can keep the groom at bay. Personnel assigned to SCP-231-7 must undergo heavy psychological testing before cleared to enter the site. Individuals must score at least 72 points on the Milgram of Obedience examination and be unmarried, have no offspring, and express nothing less than total loyalty to the Foundation. Normal psychological screening procedures against access to disorders are waived, so long as the D-Class personnel in question has the mental capacity to carry out Procedure 110 Montauk as needed. Luke Chapter 23, Verses 34. Personnel who express sympathy towards SCP-231-7's plight or express a desire to rescue or sympathize towards SCP-231-7 will be transferred to another project without delay. Any actual rescue attempts will be met with immediate termination. Personnel who have served on the staff of SCP-2317's containment team are not required to divulge that information to others. No official record shall be kept of the names of any of the staff assigned to SCP-231-7, nor will said service appear on personnel's files of staff. They gather round with leering smiles, the soulless and the dead. Though her soul unwinds, the cruelest minds will keep her in her bed. While on site, individuals assigned to SCP-231-7 will be issued with concealing helmets and integrated voice changers to protect their identity. On-site staff are not allowed to remove said uniform in the presence of other staff. Off-duty hours are spent alone in their private quarters. 6 D-Class personnel are to be assigned to SCP-231-7 each month for the purposes of carrying out Procedure 110 Montauk. Note: violent criminals are not to be used for this purpose, due to the possibility of accidental fatality during Procedure 110 Montauk. Special Containment Procedures. Following repeated escape and suicide attempts, and based on the failure of containment of SCP-231-1 through 6, containment of SCP-231-7 has been amended to the following. SCP-231 is to be contained within a soundproof holding cell, adjacent to the holding cells of 6 D-Class personnel assigned for the purposes of Procedure 110 Montauk. Cameras will monitor every inch of the cell at all times and must be manned 24 hours a day. Malfunctioning monitoring equipment will be replaced without delay by psychologically screened staff. Doors will be magnetically locked, openable only by positive action by the control and monitoring facility. This includes all doors linked to the main holding cells of those 6 D-Class personnel. SCP-231-7 is to be kept restrained to a hospital bed at all times except for the purposes of Procedure 110 Montauk. Hydration will be provided through IV drip. Feeding will be carried out twice per day through the feeding tube approved by medical personnel who have not taken the Hippocratic Oath. Under no circumstances are narcotics, anesthetics, or other unapproved medication be administered to SCP-231-7. The potter told his prentice to prepare him 7 jars. 6 he made with grace and skill, the last his hands did mar. Procedure 110 Montauk is to be carried out once every 24 hours by D-Class personnel. During Procedure 110 Montauk, at least one Security Clearance 4-231 staff member must monitor the procedure by the cameras at all times, although the sound may be turned off if the vocalizations of SCP-231-7 become too distressing. Following the procedure, all D-Class personnel must return to their holding cells or explosive collars will be detonated. The cretin moon no more is howling, gone is its morning black. Their dreams its faces prowling, come to take them back. Data expunged, per order of 05 redacted, on redacted. Information has been moved to eyes-only document 231-10 Montauk. Access to 231-10 Montauk is limited to personnel with security level clearance 4-231. Special containment procedures. Following repeated escape and suicide attempts, and based on the failure of containment of SCP-231-1 through 6, containment of SCP-231-7 has been amended to the following. SCP-231 is to be contained within a soundproof holding cell adjacent to the holding cells of 6 D-Class personnel assigned for the purposes of Procedure 110 Montauk. Cameras will monitor every inch of the cell at all times and must be manned 24 hours a day. Malfunctioning monitoring equipment will be replaced without delay by psychologically screened staff. Doors will be magnetically locked, openable only by positive action by the control and monitoring facility. This includes all doors linked to the main holding cells of those 6 D-Class personnel. SCP-231-7 is to be kept restrained to a hospital bed at all times except for the purposes of Procedure 110 Montauk. Hydration will be provided through IV drip. Feeding will be carried out twice per day through the feeding tube approved by medical personnel who have not taken the Hippocratic Oath. Under no circumstances are narcotics, anesthetics, or other unapproved medication be administered to SCP-231-7. The potter told his prentice to prepare him 7 jars. 6 he made with grace and skill, the last his hands did mar. Procedure 110 Montauk is to be carried out once every 24 hours by D-Class personnel. During Procedure 110 Montauk, at least one Security Clearance 4-231 staff member must monitor the procedure by the cameras at all times, although the sound may be turned off if the vocalizations of SCP-231-7 become too distressing. Following the procedure, all D-Class personnel must return to their holding cells or explosive collars will be detonated. The cretin moon no more is howling, gone is its morning black. Their dreams its faces prowling, come to take them back. Data expunged, per order of 05 redacted, on redacted. Information has been moved to eyes-only document 231-10 Montauk. Access to 231-10 Montauk is limited to personnel with security level clearance 4-231. Description: SCP-231-7 is a redacted female between redacted and redacted years of age, with data expunged. The king is in his courting clothes, the brides are in their bed, the unborn prince waits in sleep to raise their eager heads. SCP-231-1 through 7 were retrieved from Redacted, following a police raid on a warehouse owned by an organisation calling themselves the Children of the Scarlet King. See article Redacted in the Redacted newspaper. Police raid Satanic Sex Cult, Save 7. 24 hours after the rescue, SCP-231, real name Redacted, went into labour pains, giving birth 3 minutes later to SCP Redacted. Causing a redacted event resulting in over redacted confirmed casualties, Foundation personnel took possession of the remaining SCP-231-2 through 231-7 and, based on notebooks recovered from the cult, instituted Procedure 110 Montauk to prevent future occurrences. The hens were in the hen house, and the 7 eggs did lay, till the fox crept in by dark of night and stole the eggs away. Addendum 231-A. The current status of the SCP-231 units. 6 were broken by their bindings, 6 no more shall sing. Come the 7th's full unwinding, all the bells will ring. SCP-231-1. Deceased. Killed during initial recovery operations while giving birth to SCP Redacted. See Casualty Report Event 231 Alpha for more details. When the first had given birth, all the birds did sing. Her screams and cries did shake the skies as she called out for her king. SCP-231-2. Deceased. Redacted. Killed during attempt to remove fetus of second SCP Redacted specimen, resulting in immediate redacted event. See Casualty Report Event 231-Bravo for more details. By Doctor's blade the second bade life into this world, untimely hewn neath the silent moon, the king's red flag unfurled. SCP-231-3. Deceased. Redacted. Self-terminated following a prolonged period of distress caused by the implementation of Procedure 110 Montauk. SCP Redacted immediately underwent redacted event. See Casualty Report Event 231-Charlie for more details. His bride, the third, remains unheard, her cries for help ignored. She stopped her life with a surgeon's knife and gave it to our Lord. SCP-231-4. Deceased. Attempted to administer SCP-500, although successful in that all traces of SCP Redacted were expelled from the system. Expelled remains immediately underwent a redacted event, causing numerous casualties, including SCP-231-4 herself. See Casualty Report for Event 231-Delta for more details. The fourth prepares a dagger and places it at her heart. The perfect cure cannot make pure what the king has set apart. SCP-231-5. Deceased. Redacted. Botched application of Procedure 110 Montauk resulted in SCP-231-5 giving birth to SCP-2 Redacted 1 hour later, which underwent a redacted event. See Casualty Report 231-Echo and Reports on Destruction on Site 231-Alpha for more details. Recruitment profile of D-Class personnel was revised to minimize the possibility of a second botched Procedure 110 Montauk. The fifth one's crown was bearing down upon the fox's set. The den was sunder with mighty thunder and apocalypse. On the 6th day the walls gave way, the oceans turned to ash. Her birth gave work as the earth shook underneath the king's fell lash. SCP-231-7, as of date redacted, SCP-231-7 is successfully contained at Site Redacted. The seventh bride will break the tides, the moon no more will shine. There comes a day not far away, she'll bring the death of time. No, not everyone who has worked on SCP-231 is terminated upon leaving the project. Yes, staff members who have been assigned to SCP-231 are allowed to take Class A amnestics before leaving the project if so desired. Yes, false memories are implanted. No, none of the supposed methods of recovering or detecting false memories work. Yes, some of you who've worked on SCP-231 don't remember it. No, we have not given up trying to save SCP-231-7, but research in the field must be carried out with the utmost caution, based on the increased potency of each subsequent redacted event associated with each subsequent SCP-redacted specimen. There is a strong possibility that SCP-231-7's redacted event could result in XK class end-of-the-world scenario. This information is corroborated by the notebooks recovered from the cultists. See Document 7 Bride 7 Sealed, SCP-231 Adjunct B. No, putting the poor girl out of her misery is not an option, neither is drugging her. She has to be aware of what's going on for 110 Montauk to work. One final note, the Foundation does many distasteful things in the completion of our mission, but our mission is important enough that the price is one we must pay. Containment of SCP-231 is one of our most dangerous duties, not because of any direct danger to ourselves like SCP-682, but because of the danger that our resolves will fail, that we will allow ourselves to either let down our guard or to sympathize with a suffering innocent, or that we will allow ourselves to become monsters through performance of monstrous acts. Just do your jobs and leave the philosophizing for the shrink. Sincerely, O5 Redacted. Don't believe it when they say they're trying to save her. Why would they bother? They've got exactly what they want, exactly where they want it. Addendum 231-C. Update. 231-07's emotional response to Procedure 110 Montauk appears to be reduced recently, despite proper execution of said procedure, increasing the danger of SCP Redacted undergoing a redacted event. Two options have been proposed. One, a development of a new containment procedure with an emotionally higher response to Procedure 110 Montauk, or two, the administration of Class A amnestics to SCP-231-7, allowing her to return to a base emotional state. Said memory modification must be administered during the execution of Procedure 110 Montauk to maintain heightened emotional state following the memory reset. Please advise. The Doctor never tells his God which one he really seeks. Instead, he hides himself away and quietly he weeps. Addendum 231-D. Decision. Proverbs 132. Carry out Option 2 at the first available opportunity. Their God's own voice he makes a choice, declaring with their word, in fear and pain let her remain, lest she be like the third. The O5. Addendum 231-E. Aftermath. Ezekiel 6:14. Option 2 was carried out. SCP-231-7's emotional state returned to 100% efficacy. Dr. Redacted committed suicide due to heightened emotional stress. Will continue the efficacy treatment. The Doctor's gun ended his run. He put it to his ear. She was defiled, the petty child he gave into his fear. Addendum 231-F. Continued analysis of the efficacy of treatment. Revolutions 18-21-24. After some analysis, I have determined that it is not necessary to perform memory modification every time Procedure 110 Montauk is carried out. In fact, it is better to delay some time before re-administering the agent. Analysis of Subject 231-7's emotional response indicates the efficacy of Procedure 110 Montauk seems to peak between the third and fourth performance of the procedure. The dread and anticipation of the event seems to heighten the emotional response for a time, before familiarity of the procedure begins to lessen the efficacy of the treatment. My recommendation is that a Class A amnestic be administered once a week during Procedure 110 Montauk. The calendar has been modified accordingly. Her memory is a fickle thing, as strong as Challenger. When her weakness starts to waver, the drugs make her mind pure.